is, to me, sometimes I found disturbing. And these folks had a lot of camaraderie. They were very open to exactly what needed to be done by their end customers, and it was just a beautiful time to work with them. Okay, I'm going to say something kind of stupid now. The Department of Corrections places a high emphasis on security. But I did not realize how much they positioned on security there. It was amazing that there were many times that we needed to go and get things done that was very difficult to do, understandably, coming from more of a commercial environment. And I'll actually talk about some of those things here too. The whole purpose of this is that we can go ahead and share some of this information to developers, designers, end users, customers, that if you're in an extremely secure or governmental organization, how the values are different, and how you, as potentially a web developer, designer, or even a content producer, can go ahead and help that process along. It's very important. I'm not going to be posting any of this on the site, and I'm doing that out of deference to the Department of Corrections. I'm talking about it, and I'm kind of giving some overviews of it, but they would actually prefer me to really not go into a lot of this stuff in detail. So I'm going to talk, we're going to have a discussion, and we'll go from there. Feel free, and the reason I'm keeping the lights on here, feel free and say, hey, I experienced this, and that's completely valid, and I think that we would be able to go and all learn from that. So I feel that the governmental sector is a wonderful opportunity for people who know Drupal. With whitehouse.gov, most notably, and there's all types of other sites out there that are governmental and nonprofit. Frankly, I find it to be becoming the primary go-to technology for many organizations. And I think there's a great opportunity to go ahead and use Drupal and be able to go ahead and get it to be a default for government. Now, at the moment, state governments, shortfalls, budget issues, just like you and me. However, Drupal has the right price tag, doesn't it? It's free. Now, they don't quite understand sometimes the difference between free and open source, that it's not really free, that you have an obligation to go and contribute back to the community. But at the same time, if that's what it takes to go ahead and get started, then that's great. And security was a huge concern with the Colorado Department of Corrections, huge. And so the only thing I could say to them is, hey, look at whitehouse.gov. Are more people going to try to break into the Colorado Department of Corrections or whitehouse.gov? You tell me. The other reason that they really went after the proposal with Drupal, their standard work environment was very much that we're going to go ahead and hire a contracting firm. They are physically going to come into the site, bringing nothing, custom coding, leaving and taking nothing. And in that regard, actually, that's a very secure environment. However, with the budget that they had and how much they wanted to go ahead and accomplish, that was virtually impossible. You all know that we're building on the shoulders of giants with Drupal and all the modules and everything else, that it's just, without that type of thing, the budget we had, we couldn't have done it. We just couldn't have done it. So there were a couple of interesting advantages for the DOC that Drupal brought. And one of them was the fact that it's a cutting-edge technology. And that was good from the point of view of being able to say, we can rely on the Drupal community to go ahead and keep us up to date in terms of security and features and functions, but also from the individual technologist point of view. One of the reasons I respect the Colorado Department of Corrections BT, Business Technology folks, so much. These folks work so hard to go ahead and pull together with very little budget technologies from 20 years ago, from 10 years ago, to go ahead and interface it to today's technologies. It's the MacGyver, here's a piece of string and chewing gum making a nuclear bomb. And they regularly are able to go ahead and make good on that. And so to give them the opportunity to use something like Drupal, and effectively a lot of our time on site was teaching the BT staff how to use it. They felt that was great for the technology, for their department, and their personal career. And so if there's something in it for everybody, I mean, all of a sudden everybody's really very keen on using the technology. I'm going to talk about the procurement process. If you've ever gone through a procurement process for a governmental agency, you realize how Byzantine and complex it is. And sometimes, and I'll tell you exactly how we went ahead and got there. And sometimes I wonder how we ever did this project at all, because sometimes it seemed like it was almost a mistake. And also there was a real mismatch of culture between the very rules-based Department of Corrections and the apparent loosey-goosey open source hippie type of open source world. It's like, in some regards, I'm kind of surprised they even used Drupal, but we got them drinking the Kool-Aid. So the models were very different, and I did have some head buddy with them. I'm going to start at the very beginning. And so the old saying is nothing happens till somebody sells something, you know, and so in that regard, the way it started was the most interesting piece of this project. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the unique features and functions on the site, and most importantly, the learnings you might be able to take away from this, whether you're working for a non-profit or whether you are an employee of a governmental agency, how to sell it internally. That's really true. Now, about 2 years ago at Drupal Camp, if you saw our sponsor comments, that I went ahead and said, you know, I'm kind of older than most of you, so if you see me standing in the corner, please talk to me. The group is now a lot more diverse than it used to be. It used to be a whole bunch of young guns, and then there was me. And it's interesting. I find in the sales process that people end up turning to us, primarily when they're talking to me, looking to say, you've been around the block a couple times. They're not just talking about technology, they're talking about positioning, they're talking about business strategy. And if I can go ahead and fulfill on that, then all of a sudden we become a very valuable business partner beyond technology. So I guess the moral of the story is put the old guy in front to go ahead and be able to sell your stuff. And I'm not kidding. I mean, you know, age discrimination is alive and well, but you know, if you're old, you might as well go ahead and make use of it, right? So let's see. Some of the unique features and functions. The site came online on June 2nd. Immediately, it got between 3,000 and 5,000 hits a day. And somebody in the hallway said, "Who's visiting this site? I mean, who wants this thing?" Well, it's really interesting. We started looking at what the top hits were on the site. Number one was the homepage, obviously. Number two was the inmate locator. What an inmate locator is you can put in somebody's name who's incarcerated, you can find out where they are and such, and people who use that and find that could be victims, could be public defenders, it could be loved ones, it could be all kinds of things. This site actually is very empathetic to